Okay, so doing what we did yesterday, first thing is you have to look, is what I'm dividing into done properly? Do I have all the powers there? Third power, second power, first power, zero power on my use, so I'm good on that. I don't have to add any spacers or anything. I can go ahead and divide. The 2u in front, that's my decision maker. The 3 is just along for the ride. 2u goes into 2u cubed. U squared times, because u squared times 2u gives me 2u cubed. Multiply it out, 2u cubed plus 3u squared, and then subtract. Once again, the subtraction is where most mistakes are made. 2u cubed minus 2u cubed gone. 9u squared minus 3u squared gives me 6u squared. Bring down the 11u plus 11u. 2u goes into, that's not 3, that's a 6. My bad. 6u squared plus 11u. 2u goes into 6u squared. 3u times, multiply it out, 6u squared plus 9u, subtract, 11 minus 9, that's 2u, bring down the 3, 2u goes into 2u once, multiply it out, 2u plus 3, subtract, and look, no remainder. It means it goes in evenly. If it goes in evenly, this is actually factorable. This is a factor of this if it goes in evenly. Okay? So my answer would be u squared plus 3u plus 1 because it goes in evenly. Okay. On the second one, I have p cubed. I do not have a p squared. I have a p and I have a p to the 0 power. I need to rewrite this to give me a p squared in here. So I have p cubed plus 0 p squared minus 9p minus 10. Now, we had a discussion about this in, I think it was 7th period yesterday. You have to have something there for the p squared. I like putting 0 p squared because I know what am I putting in there? I'm putting in the p squared because I need the space for the p squared. I have 0 of them. That's why I put 0 p squared. Some people will just put 0, will not have the p squared portion. That's okay. Some people, and I do believe your textbook, but I'm not positive, many textbooks do this, they just put a blank space there. Which, if you can do that and get the right answer, I'm okay with that too. I like to have this because it tells me exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Oh, I need to have a p squared for a space, and I have none of them, but I need that marker there because I need to have something for my p squareds. It makes it easier to keep track of what's going on. But if you want to put a 0 there or just put a blank space in there to mark it out, you can do that as long as you're still getting the right answer in the end. Don't really care as long as you get the right answer in the end. But you have to have something to deal with going from p cubed to p. You can't just skip that power. Okay? And like I said, I like to have 0 p squared, so it's plain and simple. I know exactly what's going on. Okay? Now I do my dividing. I use p. P goes into p cubed, p squared times. P squared minus 4p squared, or sorry, p cubed minus 4p squared. Subtract 0 minus negative 4p squared is, what do I get? Positive 4p squared. This is the one thing that was messing up a lot of people yesterday. Bring down the minus 9p. P goes into 4p squared. 4p times. Multiply it out. 4p squared minus 16p. Subtract. 4p squared. They're gone. Negative 9p minus negative 16p. That gives me 7p. Bring down the minus 10. P goes into 7p 7 times. I get 7p minus 28. Subtract. Negative 10 minus negative 28 is positive 18. So my answer is p squared plus 4p plus 7 with a remainder of 18. Watch your subtraction. That's where people were making the most mistakes. I had some kid third period tip yelling out the wrong answer over and over and over again. I'm like, dude, okay, I appreciate your enthusiasm. You might want to use your inner voice. Okay, so, take a look at it because it's just not subtracting correctly. You've got to watch that. It's going to screw you up. And if you mess up one of them, everything after that is just shot. Okay, everything after that will not work. So, questions on long division. You will have to know how to do long division for your test. You will have at least one problem you will have to. Remember, if you have something like a 2u or 3u or something up in the front other than just the variable, you have to use long division. However, you don't necessarily have to use long division if it isn't that. These are division problems. Okay? It's 4y squared plus 23y minus 16 divided by y plus 5. It's division. Just written as a fraction instead of with the division symbol. What we're going to do on these is synthetic division, which is very close to what we did, but not exactly. Okay. First thing you do is, what am I dividing by? What am I dividing by? Y plus 5. So I have plus 5 here. I don't use plus 5. I use minus 5. I use the opposites. Okay? And I take minus 5 and I put it down. And then I write the coefficients. The coefficients of my other terms. Of what I'm dividing into. And if I'm missing a power, I need to put a 0 down. Now, I'm not missing any powers here. So I just go, okay, well, I have 4 and 23 and negative 16. This is your setup of the problem. When you have synthetic division, you drop the variables. You don't use the variables. You will put them back in your final answer. But you don't work with them. You take those away, so you're only going to work with the coefficients. Draw a line underneath, leaving space between your coefficients and your line, because you're going to have to put something else in there in between. Okay? First step, take the first coefficient and bring it down. So far, not so bad, is it? Okay? This is where things get a little different. They start to take a break away from long division. You multiply these two. Negative 5 times 4 gives me negative 20. And instead of subtracting, like you did in long division, the synthetic division, you add. 23 plus negative 20 gives me 3. And then you multiply again. Negative 5 times 3 gives me negative 15. And then you add. Negative 31. This number here at the end, that's my remainder. The number at the end is my remainder. The other two numbers are the coefficients of my answer. Now, what was the highest power of my divider, what I was dividing into? It was 2. I had y squared. When you divide, you reduce your answer. It's going to have that power reduced by 1. So my final answer, when I divide this out, is going to be 4y plus 3 with a remainder of 31. Sorry, remainder of negative 31. Power's 1 less. It's always 1 less than what you started with when you're doing your dividing. So in the next one, what's my highest power? 3. So my answer is going to start with 2. So m squared is going to be something m squared is going to be my first term in my answer, because I have my problem starts with m cubed. My answer is going to start with m squared in the next one. Yes?
So it's like you take the highest one, you go down one? Is that
For my final answer, yes. For my final answer. Because how many terms do I have here? I have three numbers here. The last one's my remainder. These two are the coefficients for my answer. I have 2 coefficients. They line up actually answer-wise with those. It doesn't line up exactly the same as it did with long division. It's not as obvious what your powers are. You have to remember, 1 less than what I start with here.
So with like the N5 one down there?
Yeah, so it'll be end of the fourth. It's going to be my first term.
All right.
Okay. So let's do another one here. First step, I'm dividing by m plus 2. So I'm dividing by minus 2. It's always the opposite of what I have. Remember, this only works if I have a single variable to begin with. 1m, 1v, 1x, 1r, 1 whatever. Oh, she's not here. She's outside. Okay, then write down the coefficients. How many m cubes do I have? I have 1 m cubed. Its coefficient is 1. So I have 1, 7, negative 5, negative 6. Draw my line for working. Bring down the first coefficient, 1. Okay, so I'm going to have my first term of my answer is going to be 1m squared. Okay. Multiply. Write it up underneath, negative 2. Add these. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. That's how you finish it out until you get down to the last one. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Add them together, negative 15. Negative 2 times negative 15 is 30. Add them together, 24. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. The 24 here, this is my remainder. Those are the coefficients of my answer. Okay. So that means my answer is going to be m squared plus 5m minus 15 with the remainder of 24. It's simple, it's quick, but the rules are a little different, and you've got to know the differences between the two. Long divisions, just like the stuff you did when you were a little kid. Process is the same. How many times this can win? Multiply the 2, write it underneath, subtract, bring the number down, just like you did before. This one's easier to do, but it's more complicated. You have to remember what to do. You got to remember the differences. Math is often that way. Ooh, here's a shortcut, but the shortcut is actually a little more complicated in procedure than the other one. That happens an awful lot in math, where they come up with a way that looks simpler, but sometimes there's a little couple of twists and turns you have to remember. Okay, so what am I dividing by on this one? Yeah, what am I going to write down over here for my first number to divide by? Positive 3. And then I have to do my coefficients. I have 1 n to the 5th. Ooh, wait a minute, what's going on here? How many n to the 4th do I have? I have 0. I have to have a place marker just like I did on the previous problem. If you're missing a power, you have to put a 0 down for it. So I have n to the fifth, 0 n to the fourth, minus 2n cubed, minus 1n squared. Ooh, 0 n's plus 2. Every power has to be accounted for. Basically, you're going to have one more number here than you have for your highest power. If you don't have one more number than your highest power, you messed up. My highest power is 5. I better have 5 numbers down here. And zeros are okay. Bring the first one down. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add until you can't do it anymore. 3 times 1 is 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 2 plus 9 is 7. 3 times 7 is 21. Negative 1 plus 21 is 20. 3 times 20 is 60. 0 plus 60 is 60. 3 times 60 is 180. 2 plus 180 is 182. Which means my final answer is n to the fourth plus 3n squared, or n cubed, sorry, plus 7n squared plus 20n plus 60 with a remainder of 182. And yes, this should look familiar because we did this problem yesterday doing long division. It was one of the problems we did yesterday. You get the setup right, it goes quickly, it goes easily. You can't do it for every problem, but when you can do it, man, it's nifty. Okay? Can't do it for every problem, but when you can, it works sweet. Okay, so I set up the next problem. I'm dividing by -1. And I have 2, 5, -4, 0, and 6. Because I don't have any v's. I go from v squared to 6. I need to have a v in there, so I have to put in my 0 to my v. I know I'm a little tight on space. That's all right. We can handle it. We're big people. We're big boys and girls. We can handle this. Bring down the first number. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. -1 times 2 is -2. Add them together. I get 3. -1 times 3 is -3. Add them together. I get -7. -1 times -7 is 7. Add them together. I get 7. -1 times 7 is -7. Add them together, I get -1. That's my remainder. My original problem started with v to the fourth. So my first term is 2v cubed plus 3v squared minus 7v plus 7 with a remainder of -1. Like I said, it's slick. If you set it up right, it's slick. You got to set it up right. Okay? Now, there's a lot of shortcuts in math. A lot of stuff that's like this. Ooh, use this. Drop the variables. Do this. Do that. It's really slick. Works really well. But you have to remember how to set it up properly. And there's usually twists and turns to screw things up. Questions on these? Your turn. Do those. I don't know. Did I space them out and give you 2 and then give you 2? I think I did. Go ahead and do the first 2. We'll do those together. If you want to start the next ones, but I'll give you guys a minute to do the first 2, and then we'll check those, and then we'll do the other ones. Okay, let's go ahead and do these first 2 together. On the first one, I have -2. My coefficients are 2, 5, 7, -4. I don't have to worry about anything missing. Bring down the first one, I get 2, and then multiply and add. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Add them together, I get 1. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Add them together, I get 5. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Add them together, I get negative 14. That's my remainder. So I have 2a squared plus a plus 5 with a remainder of negative 14. On the next one, do the same thing. Negative 5, coefficients are 1, 5, negative 1, negative 5. And bring down the first coefficient, I get 1. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Add them together, I get 0. And that's okay. Negative 5 times 0 is 0. Put down my 0, add them together, I get negative 1. Negative 5 times negative 1 is 5. Add them together, I get 0. So I have a remainder of 0. So my answer, I started with z cubed. My answer needs to start with z squared. So I get z squared, 0 z's minus 1. That's my answer, z squared minus 1. I start with 1 power less. I have no z's. I have minus 1. I have no remainder. Z squared minus 1. If you have not already done so, finish those other two. Okay, so let's set this one up. First one, I have h minus 2, so I'm using positive 2. And then I have a 5, 8, 0, minus 60. Don't forget the 0 because I don't have any h's. I h cubed, h squared, 0 h's, minus 60. Bring down the first number, and then multiply and add. 2 times 5 is 10. Add them together, I get 18. 2 times 18 is 36. Add them together, I get 36. 2 times 36 is 72. Add them together, I get 12. So that's my remainder. So I have 5h squared plus 18h plus 36 with a remainder of 12. Second one, I want to check. See, I have 5, 4. Nope, I don't have 3. 5, 4, 0, 3, 2, 1, 0. So I have to have a 0 in there for p cubed. So I start out with a 3 and have 1, minus 2, 0, minus 1, minus 3, minus 2. It's actually not too bad. Bring down the 1, and then multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. 3 times 1 is 3. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. 3 times 3 is 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 1 plus 9 is 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Negative 3 plus 24 is 21. 3 times 21 is 63. Negative 2 plus 63 is 61. That's my remainder. So I have p to the 4th plus p cubed plus 3p squared plus 8p plus 21 with a remainder of 61. Easy peasy. Okay. Questions? Okay. Now, synthetic division is nice also because we can kind of cheat and use it for evaluation purposes, kind of. Okay? So, if I want to evaluate a polynomial, I want to know what p of negative 1 is if p of x is 7x to the 4th minus 6x cubed plus 4x squared minus 5x minus 9. I want to evaluate it. What do you do? If I want to know what p of negative 1 is, I put in negative 1 for x. 7 times negative 1 to the 4th minus 6 times negative 1 cubed plus 4 times negative 1 squared plus 5 times minus 5 times negative 1. Got to watch my pluses and minuses. Minus 5 times negative 1 minus 9. And I got to do that. Okay. Well, negative 1 to the fourth is positive 1. Negative 1 to an even power is positive 1. Negative 1 to an odd power is negative 1. That's extremely easy. You're welcome. So I have 7. Negative 1 cubed is negative 1. Negative into negative means that's plus 6. Negative 1 squared is 1, so that's plus 4. 5 times negative 1 is plus 5. Minus 9. Oh, that's not so bad, is it? What do these three numbers here add up to? 0. So my answer is 13. You're smarter. As long as you're adding, you don't have to do it. Did it. Ooh, I can group things and do it that way. Right? 4 and 5 and negative 9 all combined to give me 0. All I got to do is worry about the other numbers. Okay? Now that's not so bad. But what if I wanted to find, instead of, p of negative 1, I wanted to know what p of 13 was. You have to plug 13 in there. So you got to find 13 to the fourth power times 7 minus 6 times 13 cubed plus 4 times 13 squared. It can get pretty ugly in a hurry. Okay, negative 1 is easy. There's only 2 numbers that are easier than negative 1. Positive 1, which means you just add all the numbers up, and 0, which means you just get whatever doesn't have a variable on it. 0 is the easiest. P of 0 is negative 9. P of 1, you just add the coefficients together. Negative 1, it's a little more complicated. But when you start getting bigger numbers, it's kind of a pain. But you can use synthetic division. And what we don't have written down here, but you can also use synthetic division and the remainder theorem. What the remainder theorem says, if I use synthetic division and I divide by the number I'm evaluating, my remainder is my answer. So I set this up the same way. I set this up just like synthetic division with one difference. If I want to know what P of 3 is, I don't use negative 3, I use 3. I don't change the sign of what I'm evaluating. I just take the number I'm evaluating and set up the rest of the problem. And don't forget your zeros on this one, because I have x to the fifth, no x to the fourth, so I have to have a 0 for that. Minus 2x cubed minus x squared is 0 x's, so I'd have to have a 0 for that. And 2, you still have to put in the zeros. Anything that's missing, for any power that's missing. And then you do synthetic division. The next process is exactly the same. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. 3 times 1, 3, add, I get 3. 3 times 3 is 9, add, I get 7. 3 times 7 is 21, add, I get 20. 3 times 20 is 60, put down 60. 3 times 60 is 183. So I add them together, I get 60. 180, which gives me 182. My remainder is my answer. What is P of 3? It's 182. Then I take 3 and raise it to the fifth power and subtract 2 times 3 cubed minus 2 times 3 squared, or sorry, minus 3 squared plus 2. No, I didn't have to put in 3 for x and figure it out. I could use long division, and my remainder is what it is. I don't care about the rest of it for this answer. All I care about is my remainder. That's what I get when I evaluate it. Kind of slick. It's a lot easier than plugging them in and cubing them to the fifth power and trying to keep all that crap straight. Because it is hard to keep it all straight. Okay, so we're going to do this next one. So it's negative 2. Set up the same thing. It's negative 2, not positive 2. Do not change the sign for evaluation. You got to keep that straight. Cubed, squared, first power, negative 1. I don't have to have any zeros on this one. That's nice. 4, -1, 5, -1, and do my long division, or sorry, do the synthetic division steps. Bring down the first number, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. -2 times 4, -8, add, I get -9. -2 times -9 is 18, add, I get 23. -2 times 23 is -46. Add them together, I get -47. That's my answer. P of -2 is -47. And that's the same problem we already did. So you don't have to worry about doing this one because we just did it on the previous page. It's slick. It's easy. Much easier than trying to plug them in and evaluate them. Do those two. Okay, let's go ahead and do these. So when you're doing your first one, when you're evaluating, remember you don't change the sign of what's going in. Let's see, 4, so I have 6 to the 4th, 3x cubed, 2x squared, minus 5x, minus 4. I don't have to have any zeros. Bring the first one down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. -2 times 6, -12. Add, I get -9. -2 times -9 is 18. Add, I get 16. -2 times 16 is -32. Add them together, -37. -2 times -37, 74. Add them together, I get 70. The remainder, that's my answer. So P of -2 is 70. You gotta watch your negatives and positives. Simple. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, but pay attention to the negatives and positives. In the second one, I have -4. Going into 3x cubed, 6x squared, 0x minus 7. So I have to have a 0 because I don't have any x's. Bring down the first number. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. -4 times 3 is -12. Add together, I get -6. -4 times -6 is 24. Add, I get 24. -4 times 24 is -96. Right? Yeah. -96. Add them together, I get -103. So that means P of -4 is -103. And I'm going to tell you, that's a whole lot simpler than putting -4 in here and -4 in here and working that out. Even with a calculator to help you out, this still works pretty slick. Okay, and if you don't have access to a calculator, this is really slick. Okay, I wouldn't want to take -4 and find it to the 4th power, although I know what that is. Okay, any questions? Okay.